Jaycon 2014, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Jaycon was an anime convention held on March 29th and 30th, 2014 at Elizabethtown College in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania. I've attended Jaycon for the past several years, and I like it. It's a nice, small anime convention, but this year there was a little something different. A panels group I'm part of had guest status, so I am declaring a conflict of interest. Now you're saying to yourself, why does he have a staff badge? There was a little problem with our guest badges, and they ended up issuing us staff badges instead. Not a problem at all. It worked out. So my feelings from this con are coming from the guest status background. So let's start off with the good. Opening and closing ceremonies were really well organized. Sometimes cons botch this, or have something boring or pointless. They had some great videos that discussed the rules of the con in a funny but serious manner. You know, you had to follow the rules, but we're going to be funny about it, and they had a nice outtakes video at the end. It was very creative, and they were just nicely organized. The staff of this con were excellent and helpful. We did have one little snafu during one of our panels. There was a tech issue, and we had a lot of staff helping us. The staff at the con really seemed to genuinely enjoy being there. It's like they were also having fun, which is nice. There's some cons that you really don't see this. And they were really just good staff to deal with. They answered questions quickly. Everybody seemed to know what they were doing. They were a real pleasure to deal with and work with. The guests of the con were really fun. We actually had Michelle Knotts in one of our panels. She was super cool. Really, it'd be nice to see her at more cons. Very friendly. Richard Epcar and Ellen Stern were also good. There's just not a lot more to say. The guests were well chosen. And Elizabethtown College is a pretty nice location for a con. They have a nice campus. It's not very hard to get around. There was parking available. And, you know, it's just a nice facility. Unfortunately, the bad thing is the con really couldn't control this. The weather was simply terrible. It rained, and 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 it just kept going until on our drive home, it began to snow. The con just had some bad luck with weather this year. Usually most of the other years, the weather's really held up. You know, they can't control it, but it was something, unfortunately, that was bad about the convention. The ugly portion is some things that should have been better. Unfortunately, registration was a tad bit rough due to the weather. The line did have to move, which there was a pretty decent line at Reg. They were moving them through, but the weather also complicated registration. Something that so far has not seemed to come up too much was the attendance cap was hit, and supposedly people were turned away from the convention. And, you know, that's a sign of growth. The convention had well over 500 people this year. That's the most they've had, which is a great sign for the convention. But it's a really tricky situation when people are turned away, because you have to worry about, you know, one person has a great time, they'll tell 3 people. One person has a terrible time, they'll tell the world, or as many people as will listen to them. So, you'll hope maybe you get more space next year. They did advertise about the attendance cap on Twitter and Facebook. I feel bad for people that didn't make it in, because it is sad, but it happens. And maybe this is just me being a little critical, but the convention layout at times, due to, again, the weather, it made things tough, because they changed up the locations of some things at the con this year. The 2 really large buildings where events were happening were rather far apart from each other. There was a building in the middle this year they did not utilize as much as they had in previous years, and it would have been nice to have some events in that building due to the crazy weather. But, you know, they made the most of what facilities they have access to, and, you know, it just may be one of those things that they could look at for next year to improve slightly. Overall, it was a good convention, even with the crazy weather. The staff, it's so cool getting to deal with a staff that really enjoys their convention, and they seem to be having a good time while running it. It really helps make the con even more positive. There were a lot of new convention attendees, a lot of first-timers at this con, and it seems like a lot of new attendees are coming to this con instead of maybe some others. And some of my final thoughts also include, it was nice to see the parents of some of the staff members involved helping with the convention. That's something you don't always see, and it's good to just see so much involvement. You know, this con continues to be excellent, and Jaycon is really a convention to watch. Some people might not really have Jaycon on their maps because it is small. It's held on a college campus. This isn't a con for everyone, but a lot of people probably should be looking at this just because it's such a quality event. My personal feelings are this con, it's equal to SetsuCon at least. They're running a quality show here, and you know what? I give it a B grade. I at first was arguing myself a little bit. Should it be a B minus? But no. With how well this event went, you got to give them a solid B, because they did a lot of good work, and it was just a whole lot of fun. Thanks for watching. P.S. A shout out to Ian Strive. It was cool getting to see you guys again, and hopefully see you at the next con.